Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. This is the one you've been waiting for because today we're going to see how much power this RB converted 240Z makes. We've got a smaller, more modern turbo. We've got ITBs. We've had a total overhaul. We've had Al down here, we've had Dave down here, and my good mate Martin. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Today's all about power under the curve. It's about waking this thing up earlier, putting that RB26 to use to make it an excellent, responsive street car.
And to help do that, I want to acknowledge one of my best mates. We have been friends for a very, very long time. We've spent a lot of time tuning cars together. We've spent a lot of time driving cars together.
Sure.
We've spent a lot of time talking about lawns.
Have we?
We've spent a lot of time talking about caravans.
Yeah, sounds like me.
I really do consider him one of my best mates, which is why I am so proud to share with you my love and adoration for my best mate, Scotty. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Hey, Moot, good, mate. Really good. It's so nice to see. I missed you. I haven't seen you all week.
I know it's been a little while. Thank you for taking all of my calls. I was hoping that maybe we could get the 240Z on the dyno down at Haltech. Are you on an island?
There's blue skies and it's absolutely lovely, but I'm sitting around doing not a lot, to be completely honest.
You and me, mate. It'll be just like old times, just the two of us.
There's not many people I'd say yes for within 20 minutes, but mate, for you, we go back a long way. 20 minutes on the dyno. You know what? It's not that bloody mini though, is it?
No, dude, it's the 240Z.
15 minutes, I'll get it ready. I'll get it warmed up, you be there.
Amazing. All right, let's do it. So good. Oh. We have come to a very exciting part of this project because today I am down at Haltech. The 240Z is on the dyno, and today it will be tuned by my friend and your friend, Scotty, also known as Tuning Fork. Follow him on the socials. His link is down below. Check him out on Instagram. Scotty, how you doing?
Really good, mate. Really good.
How's the caravan?
It is, what a dream. It's
getting out and about?
fantastic. Yeah, I am. You can't tell with something like this, but yeah, it is my hobby. How about you?
Great. Well, mate, yeah, I've been getting out in the swag, out on the postie bike. You and
yeah.
I've got to talk about lawns, caravans, fishing. Let's just talk about cars for a second. A couple of changes.
So, yep, I know this thing was a powerhouse. I loved driving this. What have you done? What have you changed?
Okay, so pretty much it's the same setup in terms of, you know, brakes and suspension and everything like that. A couple of updates under the bonnet. So we've got a new Garrett G-Series turbo, so smaller. Dartone Racing, ITBs, drive-by-wire. We've got an adjustable cam gear on the intake side. Haltech manifold. We're looking for drivability and some power. We've got traction control now, and hopefully we want to set up a couple of different modes. What does all of that sound like to you, that little recipe?
All right, so there's some exciting stuff in there because using drive-by-wire individual throttle bodies, we'll be able to map out our throttle pedal versus our actual throttle body position so that we can get the thing to come on nice and smooth, or we can make it aggressive, or we can do valet sort of style stuff.
Yep.
We've got an Haltech exhaust manifold. That means that it's going to have heaps of response. They're really, really nice looking thing. Have you?
They're crazy looking.
Beautiful.
They're awesome.
Those new turbochargers that are pretty small frame, but pack a hell of a punch and come on super early.
Yep.
And then the last one, the one that I'm excited about today, we'll tune all of that, we'll get all of that happening, the cam gear.
Yes.
Yep.
So you can have two cam gears, right? Like an exhaust side and an intake side.
Yep.
We only have adjustment on the intake side.
Okay, that's good. The intake camshaft is the one where we can advance or retard that thing relative to the exhaust and the crankshaft, and then we can make either more or less power as it's coming on. So basically, if we advance that camshaft, it's going to make more grunt down low, what you want.
That's what I want.
But it'll have less power up top. Or if we retard it, we can make more power up top and we can lose power down the bottom.
Yeah.
So we'll tune this thing up, then we'll move that intake camshaft around and try and get the best power down low. Because I know on this thing, it's super light. It's not all about the top end power. It's more about the low end grunt.
Absolutely, because it makes bucket loads of power anyway. And I think last time it was well over 300 kilowatts at the wheels. It's more than enough.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to rob some of that to send that meat down low, and that is definitely the bias that I kind of want to send it.
Perfect. And this is a good thing to talk about before we start tuning this, because without really knowing exactly what you want, I'm going to always assume that it's outright power, but it's not always the case, because if I can say to you, mate, how about we drop 20, 30, 40 kilowatts up the top and put that all down in the bottom end where you're using it all the time?
All day. You're the one that taught me this, power under the curve.
Power under the curve,
You
mate.
are the one that taught me these things.
That, I've got two lessons, power under the curve and that the first 100 kilowatts are always the hardest to make, because we want to concentrate so much on those first 100 kilowatts to make sure that the thing drives absolutely perfectly and you've got as much torque as you possibly can down there, because it's where you drive it every day.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And this is kind of, it's a known entity, isn't it? RB engines. I mean, they're a well-known engine. They're in heaps of different cars. You've got those dual overhead crankshafts.
Yep.
How do you go tuning those?
Huh?
The dual overhead crankshafts.
Oh. So this has got dual overhead camshafts. It's got one crank down the bottom and it's got two cams up the top.
All right, okay. I thought it was the other way around.
This project has been over 6 years in the making, and what started as a search for an R34 in Japan turned into this classic 240Z RB powered build. And now, after swapping to a smaller, more modern turbo and a bunch of other tasty upgrades to bring it into the current era, I can't wait to see what kind of power figures we make. I'm just crossing my fingers that this 30-year-old engine can hold on as we send it to the moon.
I'm handing the heart and spirit of this car to you. You have to take it.
I love the Datsun.
Thank you.
It's almost like it's made for me. I basically fit perfectly.
Which is good for you.
Feels great. So what we'll do before we get started, I know I'm excited to get this thing started and running, but the first thing that I've got to do is sort of go through, and it's been a while, so to do a health check on the map before we even start the car, I'm going to go through and look at everything that we have done, all that it's learned, all the stuff I've learned since we saw this car last.
Yep.
Implement all of those changes.
6 years. 6 years, Scotty.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
You don't look any older. I'm getting an old grey beard and stuff.
I'll implement as many changes as I can so that I want to guess it, because the idea of being on the dyno, I want to work the car as little as possible. I don't want to just beat up on it for no reason. So I'm going to go through, put all of our stuff in all the right positions. I'm going to reset the boost control back to 0 because we've got a new turbocharger, new wastegate spring, new exhaust manifold. So I don't know what the boost control is going to do.
Yep.
So that'll be the first step. So I'll zero all that out. I'm going to get the fueling in the ballpark and get it back for our new intake system. And then we'll load it up. We'll go through all of the load sites and we'll get all that fine tuning done, and then we'll get to the fun bit. So it does take a little bit before we get to the noisy part.
That's all right. I'm ready.
All right. Should we just start it up now and see how far we get?
Let's start it up and let's go. It starts.
It's a good sign. After all of the firmware updates, that's a good sign. I'm happy with that. So on the dyno, we'll first gear to slowly take off. Oh, there we go. Oh, what's going on there, do you think? So I'm at full throttle. It's misfiring and carrying on. Oh, I've forgotten something. What do you think I've forgotten? We did turn on the traction control.
Oh,
And then I didn't even pay any attention to you at all. All right, what if we try that now? One thing about this car that I still remember from when it first happened, how smooth this thing is and how smooth it is in the gearbox.
Yes.
The mounting system, the tail shaft, the rear end, it feels like a new Skyline.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
it's a nice place to be.
So one of the things here that's going to be a weird thing today is because I'm roughing the fuel map in now. I want to give it a pull on the dyno. I'm not going to get the fuel map too accurate. I'm not going to worry about it at the moment, because what I want to do is give it a run. We'll get it on the wastegate pressure, figure out what it is. We'll see how it's coming on boost. Then we're going to have to redo the fuel map anyway, because I want to change the inlet camshaft in order to try and get it to come on earlier.
Okay.
When we move the inlet camshaft, the volumetric efficiency, or the efficiency of the engine, is going to change, and we're going to need to redo the fuel map anyway.
Okay.
So it's close enough at the moment that I feel comfortable that we can do a pull
On wastegate.
on wastegate pressure, the
Got it.
lowest power that it's going to be able to make. The lowest power that it's going to be able to make without throttle intervention, because
Got
we
it.
can still limit the throttle.
Yes. Well, this is exciting. Yeah, I'm really keen to see. What do you expect we're going to see now?
Let's go for 220 kilowatts.
Great.
So our boost controller is turned off. So whatever the wastegate pressure is, that's what we've got. You ready?
I'm ready.
Is everything crossed?
Let's do it.
All right. So engine protection, not a bad thing. Our first problem, something's gone wrong. Our wideband oxygen sensor is telling us, just before we were saying, oh, you know, just in case it leans out or in case there's a problem with the O2 sensor, that's why you want to configure it correctly. The O2 sensor just failed. So we're going to have a bit of a look.
In this case, though, we have failed.
Yep.
And the computer has said no before kablamo.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's telling us something's wrong. So I think the first step, we'll pop an O2 sensor in it, see if that fixes it.
Yep.
We didn't even get in one power run before the engine protection system shut us down, and I really hope that this is not an omen of things to come. But this here is the original O2 sensor, and it is a consumable item that's been in there since the original conversion. So I'm hoping that a quick switch will get us back onto the rollers.
So we're going to replace that. Scotty was saying this is like an older style, so he's just gone off to get another one. We will put another connector on there, plug it back in, and then hopefully successfully spin up some power. See how we go.
Out with the old and in with the new.
So something really funny has happened. Our check engine light has come on, and I don't know if you remember when we first built this car, Dave programmed it. So the inspection light that comes from the factory under here will actually turn on when there's a problem. And right now, that light is on, which is pretty funny. Hopefully that is the biggest problem that we are going to have today. We good to start her up again, Scotty?
Ready when you are. Happy?
All right, yep, hit it.
Let's try that again.
Let's go.
Start my data logger, figure out where I am, come up on load, wide open. You want to hit that space bar for me?
Let's do it. Done.
Done.
Thank you very much for watching this episode of Mighty Car Mods.
No, not again. No. Thanks for sticking with us on Mighty Car Mods. We're going to keep on putting boost into this thing until we run out of engine or fuel system or something fun.
Until we run out of it. Yeah, that's right. We'll take it as far as we can.
It started at 2200 RPM. You hit the space bar there when we let the dyno ramp out meters per second of dyno. We got up the very top there, total of 7,500 RPM. If I bring my manifold pressure over the top, I was watching like a hawk of the air-fuel ratio, and I know that my engine protection's set.
Yes.
So I'm watching to make sure that nothing catastrophic happens on the first pull, which is where bad things are going to start to happen.
Because if we lean out, that's where we have kablamos, right?
But we do have engine protection based on lean out stuff, so we set the ECU up to avoid as many things as possible, but I'm looking for little wobbles in the power curve. I'm looking at the torque moving around a little bit, little telltales to tell me the engine's not happy.
Okay.
If it wasn't happy at any point, I was going to pull out of that, but we're lucky. The first pull, it was happy. The mixtures are in the ballpark. There was no wobbles, so I was happy to run it all the way through to the end. Our manifold pressure, here we go. This is what you wanted to know about. Comes on. It's got full boost at 4,200 RPM,
Okay.
which is 15 pounds. Look at that, it comes up on strong and just holds dead flat. So this is an indication that the exhaust manifold and the turbocharger are like impressive, like really nice.
Great. We've just done a pull on wastegate, so it's just an initial pull just to see how the car's going. This here is the old power curve here you can see in purple. This is the new one here you can see in light blue.
New turbocharger technology, exhaust manifold, the intake system. So I would put a lot more down to it, to this new turbo technology, where at 4,500 RPM, the thing with the old style turbo, which was a GT35 style, it's quite a big turbocharger for the power we were going to be making.
Yep.
it wasn't doing anything yet. It wasn't working.
Yep.
It needed the RPM to get there. And don't get me wrong,
It's not working till here, is it really?
it wasn't really doing anything. And we did say that it was about $5,000 that it started to party, and you used to complain and say like, yeah, when it comes on, it was on like a light switch. There's your light switch. There's a place for that. There absolutely is. It just, for you, it's just not in this 50-year-old 1,000-kilogram car.
Exactly. That is incredible.
We've only just started, but I do want to put more into this. So I do want to put more time and more into bringing it up down here.
Yep.
I think it's worth us mucking around with the inlet camshaft to try and bring it on even earlier again. You always are driving this car in this region, in the 2,000 to 4,000 RPM area.
Yes.
If we can't make the same power, I think we're going to be able to, but if we can't make the same power because the turbocharger is a lot smaller, it does turn into an exhaust restriction at the end of that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
We might not be able to make that massive peak power, but this is what we're talking about. We're comparing dyno sheets when we're saying, mate, my car's got 306 kilowatts, yours has only got 265.
Yep.
Well, you're going to get there a hell of a lot faster than I am.
Well, that's right, because at this point of the game, when someone else's whose car is making more power is making 80 kilowatts and I'm making 150 kilowatts,
Yeah.
I'm already further down the road at this point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because we often are talking about peak numbers and that's what everyone has on their Instagrams and things, but it doesn't always equate to actual speed.
Yeah, or like area under the curve. Yeah, I know which car I would want to take on a long drive.
Yeah.
I know which car I'd want to circuit race. I know which car I'd want to use to get to work and back. And I know which car I'd want to take drag racing. All right, now we've put a little bit of work into this thing, we can now see that it does need a little bit more fuel at the idle places, which is what we were talking about, where once all of the stuff's gone through the injector and everything's sort of clean from being sitting around for so long,
Yep.
that our temperatures are in place, our engine bay temps are in place, and this is our new kind of normal that we've got.
I'm so impressed with that number. I legitimately could call it a day in terms of what I'm seeing under the curve. I'm interested to see how far it goes, but in terms of drivability, I could call it a day at that. That is already a game changer.
There's in the boost control on the full pneumatic system with no electronic intervention, to come on and hold flat like that is a credit to all of the people that make all of the parts to be able to do that. Ooh. So smooth.
So
are we in
silky.
a R34 GTT or are we in...
Part of it is, yes.
It's splendid. Really beautiful. All right, let's turn on some noisy fans again. We're going to check our ignition tuning. Start our data logger, wide open, let it go.
Bang on.
Bang on. Geez, whoever did this last time must have been all right. No? I like it when that happens. It made a teeny tiny little bit more power, telling me that I've already done this work. It tells me that the engine's in the same position that it was last time. Things feel right. So I'm going to take those corrections back out. And then now, to the exciting bit, I think what we're going to try is down low there, that whole curve, if we could move that just to the left, just even a couple of hundred RPM.
Stop it.
I think it's worth getting the nuts and bolts out and we try and figure out how this stuff works.
It's in can gear?
Yeah, what do you reckon?
Nice.
All right, let's do it. So we've got our baseline tuned down. We're on wastegate pressure. Our ignition timing's tuned. Things are good. It's making good grunt for the 15 pounds it's on. So what I want to do now is I want to advance the inlet camshaft. We're going to lose top RPM, but we're going to gain low down with any luck. So
Perfect.
We need to do a little bit of experimenting, but first we do need to get the front cover off this thing. The camshaft sensor, or the crank angle sensor, is up here, the one that we determine all of our ignition timing and our fueling against the position of that sensor. So I'm just going to triple check that that's in the right position. Then I'm going to pull everything off the front. We'll sort of jerry rig it up so that that position sensor is still in the motor, but we have full access to the inlet camshaft. So we'll be able to move that, give it a run, see what's going on, do some tuning adjustments if we need to. back forward until we get sort of the best trade-off between the best bottom end and not losing too much top end.
Now there is a tool that's used to actually change and adjust these cam gears. I didn't bring it with me, which is why we are using this. But with that finally adjusted, it's now time to turn the key and go for another run.
Yeah, we can hear a bit of a knocking sound. We're just trying to determine why that is or what that is, because we adjusted the cam gear and it got louder, and then we put it back to where it already was, and now we can still hear it. And we shouldn't be able to hear anything. Yet we can. Mysterious.
Mysterious.
Can you hear that?
I'm surprised that moving the cam gear by 2 degrees, so it seems too unlikely to be anything else because that's the only thing we've changed. But I'm going to move it even further in the other direction. So I'm going to retard it, which is not what we want to do, but just to prove or disprove that we've got something funny going on.
Worse.
This is definitely not the kind of noise that you want to hear coming from this engine, and we haven't even started doing our proper power runs yet. But I'm worried that this may be a sign of something catastrophic.
I'm definitely nervous to think that if this still rattles,
Then we've rattled our engine.
bottom end. Yep, we've gone for lunch with, I would argue, no problem.
A working car. And one rice bowl later, kablamo.
If it is, it's the least exciting kablamo to just be like, it cooled down and it just stopped.
We're about to turn the key. If we hear anything other than a healthy sounding RB, then that's bottom end. It did it by itself while we weren't even here. We were having some lunch. If it sounds fine, the day will continue.
We were quite excited when we left. So no noises, no nothing. We've come back, we've moved our inlet camshaft by a small amount just to start to get us in the ballpark. Started her up with a noise, which immediately the only thing we've changed is inlet cam timing. So we put that back immediately, only to result in the same noise. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's about to
We're about to hear what the rest of
predict
our
your
day
fate.
and my week will look like.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Same noise.
But that's no noise now.
Agreed?
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
no noise.
The belt noise at the front, not worrying.
That's not hearing it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Scotty, let's just keep going.
You got that on camera, right? Let's do it. I'm with you. I don't understand why, but I want to put the same 2 degrees back in the inlet camshaft.
Yep.
And retest. Moving the inlet camshaft 2 degrees should not, we shouldn't see any interference there. That seems very peculiar, but the jury's still out as to what that noise actually is, which it's an RB engine. So to me, that sounded mysteriously knocking like. Unless there's something funny going on with our either belt position or it's got ginormous lift camshafts in it, which we know it doesn't because it's factory. Let's move it to 2, try again, see what it does, and then come back. I think that's probably realistic.
All right, let's do it.
So before we go much further, being an RB, we know that they do have oiling issues. So in the data logs, we're not seeing any oil pressure problems. So the last couple of pulls, they've been fantastic. But before we do anything, we'll pull the dipstick out, have a bit of a look and just see if there's anything or any telltales on the dipstick, if there's any metallic sort of sheen or any sort of particles on it that might make us a little bit nervous.
Any engine on it.
And that might shape the afternoon. I'd say that looks spectacular. I can't see anything at all that would indicate a problem. All right, ready?
No. That sounds fine.
Sounds fine. I do admit that when it started, as soon as it started, ruck, as it's coming on, but then it builds up oil pressure and it's away. Whatever's going on right now, it's not consistent, which is really unusual. If it's a bottom end problem, they're very consistent. That it doesn't just hit and miss like that. And a cracked oil pump, maybe, and it needs time to prime, but I've got oil pressure sitting in front of me, so I'm going to give it another start now and just have a listen to that first 2 or 3 seconds. Nothing. Perfect.
Fine.
And immediately, as it's cranking, I can see it go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then by the time it catches, it's got 35 pounds.
Let's just pretend this never happened and continue on as normal.
One of the telltales of something being different by adding that timing is that if we do that, we get more airflow through the engine. So it's going to need more fuel.
Right.
So where before, I've already tuned it at 2,000 RPM, I had it so that it was adding, it was subtracting 2 or 3% fuel.
Now it's adding 2%, is it?
Adding 2% fuel.
Yeah, okay.
So in total, 4%, there's been a 4% fuel change down there.
Yeah, interesting.
That doesn't mean it's going to be everywhere the whole way up the top, but pretty good indication that we've gone the right way.
Yeah.
We managed to get a run without the engine exploding, so that is a great success. But did the adjustment of our cam actually give us more power down low?
Everything's moved forward. So on the left here, that blue run, that's our original sort of our baseline run, our wastegate pressure, that's our power, that's the end of it. That red one, so there we've got 2 degrees of advance on the inlet camshaft. So if I click anywhere along here, I know that they're small numbers, but how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So we need to have all of those small numbers adding up. We've gone 169 kilowatts to 178 kilowatts. So 10 kilowatts at the wheels as it's coming on, or over here, 20 newton meters at the wheels.
Totally worth it.
Mate, for a Honda guy, that's like out of control. That's a huge mod in itself. And all we've needed to do was move the cam timing. And so if we do another 2 degrees and another 2 degrees, yeah, it's pushing to the left.
Yep.
But it's not adding to the right as well. We're losing. We're stealing from the top and we're putting it down the bottom.
Yep.
So now is the time where normally I would sort of ask the customer, the guy that drives the car, well, what do you want to do? You want to steal more from the top and put it down the bottom? Or do we leave it as is and now start working on the boost pressure?
You and I can play around for a whole day. We can go, another degree here, another thing here. We can do that.
Yep.
But for the limited time that we have now, I reckon what we try and do is we just get a power figure. We page up. If you're happy with how everything's looking and you're cool with it, because I am, you happy?
I'm into it. I like it. I think everything looks great.
Great. So let's just go for a power on then.
Yeah, put a bit of boost in it.
Page it up.
All right, let's do this.
And with that decision made, it's time to page up and go for a run.
Perfect.
Nice, real nice power curve. Ready?
Let's do it.
You better hit the button. What do you think happened there?
We slipped on the dyno.
That's the first thing that happened. What else happened?
We hit some engine protection
Why?
because the boost pressure was too high.
Was it ever? All right, that's what we like.
Okay.
All right. So I set the boost cut at 25 pounds and I'm experimenting to try and get it to come on as early as possible. May have got a little bit carried away there. I'll tell you what, if for nothing else...
We're done. 305
we're done.
kilowatts.
We're not done.
No, we are done.
There was smoke everywhere, the tyres were blue. It was...
We are done.
No, we're not.
No, that's it. That's great. Can I unplug this right now?
I have to admit, that is pretty cool. You know what I really want to do? I want to compare that against the last time it was on the roller dyno, but we're all going to agree, wait till you see the footage from outside, you're going to go, oh,
Yes.
this wasn't making 305.
Oh, you reckon it's making substantially more than
Oh
that?
yes it is, because we really should adjust the straps about now and let it come up on the rollers. We should adjust the ramp rate and let it run. It wanted to run on the dyno, and I know that because everything's covered in rubber.
Yeah, okay.
So that was fantastic. We're going to come up a little bit, so don't stress out. We're going to move around a little bit.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
We're there. What an incredible result. I just want to start off with peak power numbers because that's all it seems the internet really cares about. This here with our bigger turbo here, we've got 2 pulls each. We had 303.1, 302.2, call it 303 kilowatts. Now with the smaller turbo, we've got 305 and then 309. So our peak power is more. But what's most interesting about these two curves is look at how much more power there is earlier on. The difference between here and here is over 100 kilowatts at the wheels, and it's coming on 1500 RPM sooner.
Yeah, huge. So things to point out here are that these power, so this is 22 pounds of boost, are arguably the same top end number. So the bigger turbo, the GT35 series, and the new one, still 22 pounds of boost. So that's telling us that it's not so much turbocharger at that point. It's the odds of that being the same numbers with the same everything. We're starting to look at engine inefficiencies and that sort of thing at this point.
Yes.
We could put more boost in it, but that's not really the name of the game. As you point out, along here, different animal. Up the top, we haven't lost anything because we've got this new turbocharger that is tiny but still flows a bucket.
Yep.
But looking at this bit down here, where let's just start at the bit that is a little bit boring looking, but when you look at the numbers, at 100 kilometres an hour, so you're cruising down the freeway, 100 k's an hour, someone comes across, you need to accelerate to 110 in your 110 zone to then pull back in. This guy's got 60 kilowatts, this guy's got 86 kilowatts. So if we come over here, the difference, if we show a percentage difference in torque, it's got 90% more torque at 100 kilometres an hour. Wow. So straight away when you're driving down the freeway, the thing's already on boost when you pull out and go, okay, this is good.
Yep.
Like,
It's crazy.
it's crazy, huge.
But let's move along to here, the difference between here and here.
So let's go there.
We used to be getting 100 kilowatts at the wheels.
Yep.
Now we're at 240.
240. A gain of 360% more torque at that point. which makes sense because that previous turbo wasn't on boost yet, so you were almost aspirated.
You were living in lag.
Nearly non-turbo at that point, whereas this new fella, mate, you're already on 20 pounds. So the difference, think about any six-cylinder engine. If you've got it at 1 or 2 pounds of boost at $5,000 or 22 pounds at $5,000,
Yes.
it is what it is. This shows that picking a turbocharger that's right for your application, whether it be street, drag, drift, whatever, but more importantly, that is perfectly matched to your engine and your engine combo. What a huge difference. Your original complaint that like, oh, mate, it's cool, but it's so scary when it comes on at $6,000. Yeah.
It's doughy then scary.
It's like
Yeah.
a nightmarish pizza. I wanted more like a calzone, you know what I mean?
Every time, mate. I love it. So this thing, you got me. I can't. What are we even talking about? This won't upset you on the street anymore because as it comes on, it'll get wheel speed. So the more wheel speed it's got, the more power it'll make, so that you're not going from nothing to everything. So this will be 50 times the car to drive. In comparison, you've gone from a 1.5 litre Daihatsu Charade to a 5 litre V8. The right turbo choice, and these new turbochargers that are coming through, and these new manifolds that are coming through that have got all of those billet turbine wheels, so that they just keep improving the technology over and over and over again. This is the result.
So a smaller, more modern turbo. In this case, it makes more power everywhere, but where it's really important is in that drivable range. We're down low. We've gone from 100 kilowatts at the wheels to 240 kilowatts at the wheels with a top end power of around 310 kilowatts at the wheels, which is more than we made before.
Absolutely.
There is no downside in this application. I mean, look, drag car, you want to make lots of boost, you want lots of top end, yes, but for a daily drivable street car like this, absolute bellissimo.
You're trading some top end for some bottom end, but really the top end, you couldn't really use it as much in this chassis anyway. And what did this car come with originally? 100 kilowatts?
If that.
So you got 3 times that. Responsive, sounds absolutely incredible.
I think it is the best sounding turbocharged setup we've had in any car that we've built on this show in the last 17 years. I think it sounds absolutely incredible. And in fact, this new iteration of the car, it's full oishi. That's Japanese for delicious. There's only 1 or 2 little things that I think need to be done, and they're not little at all.
It's 4 things precisely.
4? Oh, I was only thinking of 1. Oh, 4. Yes, 4 things. Now, when I bought this car from Japan, it had a set of 15-inch gunmetal Watanabe wheels on it. And I was like, I think they look perfect.
Amazing.
Obviously too small to fit with what we've done to it since. So I did a thing, people. I contacted the Watanabe factory in Japan, and I got them
So good.
to custom make me some wheels
The same ones.
that are exactly the same as what this car came with, but in a spec that means they fit with our brakes and our suspension and our setup. And they're all wrapped in a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 5s.
Watanabe wheels are an iconic Japanese racing wheel that have a long history with Datsun cars. In fact, the founder of the company, Toshiyuki Watanabe, raced a 240Z. This 8-spoke design have made their mark on the industry as a wheel that is loved by fans of Japanese cars, and these ones were custom made specifically for this build. They're wrapped in a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 5s, a high-performance tyre designed for sports cars with excellent acceleration, braking and corner performance, as well as day-to-day driving in wet and dry conditions. I actually ordered these wheels from the Watanabe factory a long time before we even started working on the engine, but I didn't want to put them on until I felt like the project was truly finished. Wheels will make or break the project, and it feels like now is the right time to re-gift this car the same wheels that it came with when I found it all those years ago in country Japan. The last thing to do is make sure the car gets a proper alignment and setup, so it's going down to DNA Autosport for the final tweaks before we hit the road. Coming to the end of this build, I'm reflecting on how I missed out on an R34 GTR at the Japanese auctions and decided to buy this instead. But now that I'm here, I'm really glad I did miss out, because I got the opportunity to work on and own one of the most beautiful cars ever made. And if the GTR is the dream car of boy racers around the world, I guess that makes the 240Z the athletic grandparent. And the fact that it's powered by the RB means that it carries that exciting GTR spirit with it everywhere it goes, into a new era where it can be enjoyed day to day and appreciated for what it is and what it was. A Japanese car that was faster than Porsches made in the same era, but affordable enough that your everyday person could buy one.
So that brings us to a close of this incredible reinvigoration of the 240Z build. I absolutely love it. It's ticked all of those boxes that I think were remained unticked, and it looks absolutely incredible. I'm sure you'll agree it looks better than pretty much any car that you can buy today. Maybe that's just the old school part of me going like, the old stuff was better than the new stuff, but in this case, it absolutely was. I do want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's helped out throughout this build, both the original version of the build and then the new iteration this time with Al and of course Dave and Scotty and my best mate, Marty.
And this is part of building cars. You often do go back, you go back to the drawing board, you have another go. It's part of the fun of also having a car like this for the amount of time that we've had it. And in that time, like, a lot has happened. This has been insured with Shannons Insurance since the beginning, since we first got it. They do agreed value, so as the modifications have been added and all the value of them generally has gone up, we just contact them and say, hey, this is what's going on with the car, come to an agreed value, pay the premium, and away you go. Question for you though, 180 GTR or 240Z? Why? Because I know that's a tough one, but that's like the trinity of Nissans.
Just all of them.
All of them.
All of them for different things.
Yeah.
You know, I think for a fun car to like zip around in and go, hey, I'm a kid again, I think is definitely the 180.
Yep.
This is more like the more premium version of that. It's faster than that. It's got more money in it.
Also classic in that way though, like you kind of don't want to.
Yeah, there's something nice about it,
Drift
whereas a GTR is something that can just build lots of power and just make it go crazy. And don't worry, we're going to be seeing some of that as well, people. But for now, I think the last thing to do is actually just go for a drive. Oh, I want to show you one thing for keen-eyed viewers. Come and have a look at this quickly. You see the Watanabes that we put on? Keen-eyed viewers, a few of you noticed that on the poster, these were there from the very beginning. Because we ordered these, was it 2 years ago, Martin?
Longer.
It was a very long time ago, and it was always part of the plan that when we finished the build, those wheels would go on. Now they're actually on there. The car's been set up properly. DNA sorted all of that stuff out. The Haltech is running everything perfectly as it should, and I think it's just turned into an excellent car. So the last thing to do is take my best mate for a drive.
Which one?
Martin, would you like to?
I would love
Would
to
you
go
like
on
to
a drive.
open the garage door for me?
Cheeky bastard. I would love to go for a drive in this.
All right, that's next time on Mighty Car Mods.
That was very good. Looks like